Daniel Enrique Perez was a 16-year-old male who was shot to death by officers 4 days ago this past Sunday. Today's Thursday. And today, the police chief of Los Angeles, Mr. Beck, um, stated the belief that this was suicide by cop. And the rationale for that conclusion is due to the fact that he called the officers on himself, basically turned himself in. Today, there's this guy with a gun over in his general vicinity. When they got over there, he had the gun. He pointed it at them, and then they fired, killing him. The weapon was actually a replica of a real gun. It wasn't an actual firearm, with its orange safety tip painted over black to once again mimic a real weapon. Now, Beck also stated that he had a history, but didn't really go into it. He basically figured that the family would suffer, um, you know, from having the information out there. Now, I have a few things to convey with this story. The first is that I'm entirely positive this was the opposite of racist cops. And it was the prime case of someone who became disillusioned with life and had no intent to take anyone with him, as he had, again, a toy gun, a weapon that, couldn't harm anybody. And it's just so sad to think that, people commit suicide all the time, but this cop, they stated he was heartbroken or he was disappointed and horrified by playing a role in this young man's demise, especially in learning that he himself was never really in any danger to begin with, that he was tricked into assisting the suicide. And he has a right to be, disgruntled, and I certainly can get where he's coming from. You know, um, I can't imagine how it feels to, think you've shot down the bad guy, prevented, you know, a potentially hostile situation. You find out that wasn't even a possibility. So it all just kind of lines up together, and really what you're left with is an example of how we can never be sure about anything. I think if I were him, I would have made the same mistake, and I'm even more disgusted that I had people trying to say this was the racist cops.